Hey there, and welcome back to Mocktails with Marina. I'm your host, Marina, and today I want to talk about something that doesn't get enough attention in the business world, probably because it's not the shiniest, coolest topic, but it is one of the most important. It's about hiring and keeping a great team. If you've ever struggled with hiring, if you've ever trained someone just to have them quit a few months later, or if you've ever felt like no one cares about your business as much as you do, this episode is for you. Because I know firsthand how frustrating it is to feel like you're constantly starting over, stuck in a cycle of hiring, training, losing people, and repeating the process. So today we're going to break that cycle. We're going to talk about why so many businesses struggle with finding and keeping the right people, the hidden costs of hiring the wrong ones, and what you can do to finally build a team that not only sticks around, but actually helps your business grow. And here's the thing, this isn't about having all the answers right away. It's about having the right systems, the right structure, and a hiring process that works for you. Because let's be real, when you hire well, your entire business changes. Your stress level drops, your customers have better experiences, and suddenly you're not just running a business, you're leading a team that actually supports your vision. That's what we're diving into today. So stick with me, and by the end of this episode, you'll have a whole new perspective on hiring and keeping the right people. And trust me, it's going to change everything. Even if they're not employees, even if these people are collaborators of any other variety, this is still for you. Okay, so let's start this conversation by asking the biggest question. Why is it so hard to find great employees or partners or collaborators, right? If you've ever wondered why some businesses seem to have amazing teams that stick around for years while others can't seem to keep a hire for more than a few months, I've got news for you. It is not about luck. Most hiring struggles basically come down to two different things. And by the way, no, money is not one of them. Number one is unclear expectations. You just can't hire the right people if you're not 100% clear on what you need and what success looks like in the role, right? If they don't know what they're supposed to look like when they show up, how are they supposed to show up and meet your expectation? It's just two different people don't see the same world the same way. And that's awesome. That's beautiful. That's what allows us to help each other and team up and do things that are bigger than ourselves, because we all have different passions and different modes of genius. And when you put those together in a beautiful team, it makes it all make sense. But people have to know where their job and their jurisdiction starts and ends, or else that's going to cause a lot of internal conflict for a lot of different reasons. Number two, which really is the root of number one, is weak onboarding and training. Most people don't leave jobs because of pay. They leave because they feel unprepared, unappreciated, or they just feel like they don't belong. They don't feel like this is the place that's helping them grow. They might feel stuck. They might feel something other than motivated, inspired, and connected, right? So what can we do to fix that besides just unclear expectations, besides just, training them better? There's a whole energy to it, right? So think about your own business for a second. Do you have a hiring system in place? Do you have a process for attracting, interviewing, and training people that's repeatable and actually works? Or do you feel like you're just throwing things at the wall and hoping someone sticks? So here's what I mean logistically. You may think that you're good at this, but let's take a little survey here. Okay. How does your interview questionnaire form look? What are the questions on those forms? Are they beyond the basic generic ones that you ask about seeing if their vibe is right? Is it about ambition? Where do they see themselves in the future growing? Is it aligned with where you are? Is it something that you can support over time in any way, shape, or form, right? Then we move into the onboarding and training. When we look at this, we want to make sure that your training processes not only tell people what to do, but they inspire them because they understand the meaning behind it. All of the whys are answered. They understand the heart, the mission of the company. They understand the feeling, what it means to be a part of that movement. That's very different than simple instructions as if you're baking a cake. So hiring the wrong person is not just frustrating, it's expensive. Studies have shown that a bad hire can cost a company thousands of dollars in lost revenue, wasted training, and low morale. But beyond the financial hit, it also drains your energy. How many times have you spent weeks training someone only to have them quit and leave you scrambling? It is exhausting. And if you've ever dealt with an employee who was the wrong fit but stuck around anyway, you know how damaging that could be too. A disengaged or toxic employee can bring down your entire team, impact customer service, and create unnecessary stress. But here's the good news. You don't have to keep dealing with this. There is a way to hire smarter, train better, and build a team that actually wants to be there. So, what's the solution? It comes down to 3 major shifts. Number 1, it is incredibly important that you get clear on what you actually need, right? I know I've mentioned this, but before you even post a job listing, take time to define each role, each responsibility, and what characteristics are of your ideal hire. Who do you need? How do they fit in your vision? And who is this person beyond just their role inside of your business, but who is this person? Like, what do they do? What do they aspire towards? How do they spend their time? Because another thing that I've seen is, someone wants to hire a bunch of sweet people, but they're all morning people, and the shifts that you need to hire for are nighttime people. That doesn't work. You can't force them into positions that don't make sense for them. Don't put single mothers on night shifts during the weekdays. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't work, right? So you have to be able to mold what you're doing to the people who come in, because even though you're going to have a lot of SOPs, if you've got a great effortless operation put together, right? You're going to have SOPs for everything. Now, even though that is being said, I want to mention that everything has some flexibility and room for being molded to those who come into your environment, because you can't always write for every case scenario. There's going to be people who come in, there's going to be social things that happen, there's going to be events that happen in the city that cause you to change your policies over time. So it's totally normal to be able to have updates, and you want to write it in a way that allows for that to happen. However, the one thing that the section that you don't want to change is your mission, your why. What are you doing? Why are you here? You want to make sure you are so cemented firm in who you are and what you're doing, because if not, you are going to be attracting an energy that is not going to help you accomplish what you set out to do. For example, let's say you're trying to hire someone who maybe has a bit more of a refined serving style. However, you're not putting in the application that you're looking for someone who has been maybe they have experience in fine dining, fine serving, or maybe they've served in particular environments like private clubs, private parties. They've catered certain types of events, right? The more you can be specific about the type of the type of qualities that you need in people in order to get the job done, that's going to act more like a beacon to them. So someone who's like really in tune and really aligned with whatever you're looking for is going to be lit by your job post, and they're going to be lit up in the interview with the questions that you're asking that are so specifically refined to what you're doing that it is undeniable whether someone is a vibe or not, right? Because if you're questioning, if you're like, I don't know, is this person a fit or not? Well, maybe they're not. But when you feel that spark, and you can feel that person who is sitting across from you in this interview, or even if it's a Zoom video, you can sense that everything that they have to do on the job title and in the job description is what sets their soul on fire, because that person is never going to call off unless they are dying, unless they absolutely have to. These people aren't going to have to take vacation as much because they aren't going to feel so burnt out by their jobs. They're going to want to be in it, right? So it all kind of depends on what you're hiring for, what you need help, what type of collaboration, but it's something that you need to keep in mind. You need to be so clear on this. And if you're not clear yet, it is worth honestly talking to a consultant, talking to a mentor, someone who has been through it. You are more than welcome to send me an email, hello@marinamars.com. And we can talk through this, because honestly, it is in the thousands. The average amount of money that it costs you per employee is around $4,600 when it comes to all of the lost revenue, lost morale, training. And that's just on average, because it really goes up or down depending on your industry, your area, and what part of the country you're in. So the next thing that we want to consider, a big shift that's going to be happening potentially for you, is to either develop or optimize your real hiring processes. So too many businesses wing it when it comes to hiring. You need a structured interview process that helps you assess not just skills, but that cultural fit. So when we talk about a hiring process, we're talking about like legitimate templates, like not just here's generally what I'm going to wing and this is like what we do, but I'm talking you have a Notion file and it has a template that you copy and paste, like you duplicate this and you ask those questions and you fill it in during the interview and any other pieces of information that may come up along the way. And then if you have an AI note taker follow you in meetings, and maybe this was a Zoom meeting, then you have those notes attached to their now interviewee file that is inside of your Notion. As they get hired, that file should follow them through. So they have this electronic file that has all of their information. When you get to the onboarding process, all of the legal things that you need, that will be taken care of. All of those things will have a place. So no matter what happens, a health inspector comes in, an event occurs where insurance is called, anything at all, the IRS comes in and audits you, you're good. Because you have every single thing you need in place in order to run a very refined business. And that makes your employees feel safe. Because I want to remind you, it's something that I bring up often in podcasts, like when someone is being an employee specifically, like they value security over freedom. Right? They fundamentally say, I would rather give you my time per hour and just know that I'm going to be able to cover that bill because I know how much my paycheck is going to be. That is what they value. Us entrepreneurs do not value that because we know that our time can be limitless with how much it's worth. So because of that, we actually value freedom over security. So therefore, I go over this a lot in our programs, but you can't talk to employees about owner level things ever, right? So this is because that's not what they signed up for. And if they did in some way, if they signed up for a startup life, you need to understand and recognize that they might leave you because they're just doing research for their own entrepreneurial ventures, which is fine, because now we can talk about what it means to transition someone into being a collaborator, not just an employee. So, for example, as someone is growing up through time and space and they realize what they love to do, one of my favorite examples is I had a very beloved coworker who loved doing chalkboards. And then, so I always had her do it as like her main task. And then after time went by, she's so freaking good at this that other businesses wanted her to do it. So she did it kind of freelance. And so it's awesome because this is someone who, if I ever had to have something like that done, I could call, have this done, boom, on their time, all taken care of, right? And that no matter where they are in the country, no matter what's going on, we have access to that talent, but that doesn't mean that we have to bear the entire burden and responsibility of employment if it's not something that we need all the time, right? If it's something that kind of comes up on more of a project by project basis or, client, whatever ends up happening. So all of this being said, you want to develop a real hiring process that keeps the entire future in mind and what other types of potential collaborations could occur. Because, for example, I have actually done interviews where I thought I was interviewing someone to be a server or a kava tender, but then it ended up being an interview for a different position, like a manager position, or they ended up becoming a collaborator. So they ended up being like an event host or like a musician or like a vendor who came in and collaborated on that more entrepreneurial side of things because that was more of their personality type and what they were aspiring towards. So I want to also mention that oftentimes in this, at least in kava bar world and where I come from there are a lot of entrepreneurs of many kinds who hang out in those spaces because a lot of them like to co-work in that space, right? And so you get all of these people who have all of these really cool ideas and you have aspiring entrepreneurs who often hang out, which means that you're going to have people, especially as servers, because it's a wonderful job to have when you are halfway in between, like one step into employment world and one step into employment, because it's so flexible. You get a lot of money real quick. You can do all the things, right? You can meet clients on the job. So because of all of that, you have this talent pool that like they don't want to be there forever, but that doesn't mean that you can't work with them in some capacity forever, because oftentimes the passion overlays because non-alc is such a specific thing. Like it's not so generic as a Starbucks job being a barista. And by the way, I've been a barista, like no shade. It's just generic compared to being a non-alc employee at this time because of how niche it's been for so long, especially if you have a background in herbalism. So when we say develop a real hiring process, we're not simply talking about just that beginning part where you're interviewing and getting them in to become a server. We're talking, can you imagine what a lifelong relationship could look like? I know that sounds so silly, but it's not. If you can actually think about, like, people who have been married who, happily can understand what it means to develop a foundation with people for the long term. And there is so much value in it, not only financially, but also when it comes to developing deep roots within your communities so that your business can survive without you. It can thrive. And this isn't a scary thing. This is a beautiful thing if done right. If you develop a real process that you have control over, however, it is now automated, so a lot of the stress and weight has been taken off your shoulders. So that being said, let's talk about the third shift, which is creating that onboarding and training system. So beyond just the hiring process, we're talking about what does it look like to actually onboard and train? So what we teach our clients inside of our Effortless Operations program, inside of our Blue Boss program, and inside of our upcoming program, Coffee Tender 101, we always teach that you want to have an onboarding like training that is asynchronous. So it's online or in printed workbook form if you're old school, but really online is more fun because you can put videos, you can make it fun, you can make it interactive, you can have polls, you can have quizzes, you can have little like about me's, like you can do all the things on onboarding so that you can get to know your employee, like what's their favorite candy bar, what's their favorite gift, so that come holiday season, come their birthday, you can easily celebrate them, which, because by the way, all of that kind of stuff is a tax write-off if done correctly. So all of that being said, you want to create a system that teaches people, that engages them with the process, and it gives you immediate feedback, because if someone's not going to take care of an asynchronous onboarding online training before being able to have an in-person shift, you already know you have someone who's not aligned, because either they are too busy at the moment, which is not okay with you because you're trying to hire someone who needs to be focused, right? But also you want to make sure that you have people who are able to absorb all the knowledge, because quite frankly, I have seen people get overwhelmed when they realize how difficult it is to learn about fringe botanicals if you have no experience, or if you're kind of just experiencing them all at the same time and trying to sell them. It's a lot, and you want to make sure that you have people's back when you are onboarding them into your company. So we always recommend creating that, and that is something that we absolutely love to do. It's a huge part of what we do for our clients inside the Modern Mocktail. We not only develop onboarding systems for them, but we are in the process of actually launching some really cool tools that are going to be helping on a more a larger scale for onboarding. So here's what we mean. We have 2 cool containers coming up. And by the way, this is not just a sales pitch, because I want you to kind of think about the processes as I tell you about them, because even if it's something that you don't need our help with, it's something that can be an action item for you. So number 1, something that we are officially coming out with this week is called the new NA Hire Accelerator. There is a link in the description of this video, or of this episode, if you would like to really dive in and learn more about it. But basically, this is an entire deep dive online course that teaches you how we do this whole process. And it also comes with 5-hour-long one-on-one consultation sessions with me on this topic. So I help you build out your entire new hire onboarding process. And this is something that's repeatable, sustainable. If you want to become a franchisable or expandable venture, if you want to outsource or delegate any of these processes, now you will be able to, because we can absolutely help you do that. So all of that being said, that new accelerator program that we are coming out with, it's brand new this week. It is launching live. So excited. It will officially be 100% live Monday, February 10th, which is super cool, but you can pre-register, side note, and there are some extra goodies you get if you pre-register and you're listening to this live. But even if you aren't, this will still be available to you because it's the precursor to our next major program. It will eventually be part of this major program we're building called Coffee Tender 101, and it will likely have a little bit of a name update as well. But basically, this is going to be our version of what we would have when we are training our staff to serve any of the non-alcoholic beverages that we all know and love. So if you don't have the time, energy, resources, know-how, whatever, to make this onboarding training program to help introduce people to the industry, you can actually buy those videos from us and put them inside of your own SOPs, and you can install them into your onboarding process so that when you have new employees, they can take this online class before they take their first in-person shift. So here's a free piece of advice that we have seen great results with. You want to basically offer people an onboarding process as follows. So you interview them, you like them, you hire them, you say, okay, the first thing I need you to do is take this online course. And once you finish that course, we will give you a flat training fee for completing that course. Then after that, you will unlock your ability to have shifts, basically. And the way that you value that training is by course hours. So some people like to learn quickly, some people learn at their own pace and take a little bit longer, but you can have it be at a flat rate, depending on your state, of course. Double check for your labor laws, depending on how you're hiring them. But in most situations, you can do a flat rate. That way, if they don't ever complete it and they're not ever an official employee, you owe them nothing for that training time. But if they do complete it, then you can pay them out for that time. Now, after that, then they are eligible for their first official shift in your shop. And at that point, then they will be so much more prepared day one behind the bar. So if you only have time to do, for example, 3 training shifts before getting them on the schedule, well, now it's kind of the equivalent to 6 in a lot of ways because of the amount of information that you can really digestible and really easily put inside of this online training. Like, this doesn't have to be an 8-hour thing. It could take, only a couple hours to get through. It doesn't have to be forever, but it does have to be substantial enough to make an impact. And it does have to be fun and entertaining enough, like an edutainment situation, in order for them to retain that information. So you can't expect people to be passionate about like bland oatmeal, right? Like, you have to be able to dress it up a little bit. So make sure that you are giving people the confidence, the support, and everything that they need, the tools as well, in order to contribute and do a great job. When you put these pieces in place, everything changes. You'll start attracting the right people, your team will feel more engaged, and your business will finally have the stability and support that it needs to thrive. So just imagine this for a second. 6 months from now, instead of dreading the hiring process, you have a system in place that works like clockwork. Instead of dealing with constant turnover, you have a team that stays. Instead of feeling stressed and overworked, you actually get to step back and focus on growing your business, knowing that your team is handling things with confidence and care. This is possible. And it's what happens when you take hiring and training very seriously. So I'm curious, what's your next move? Are you going to keep spinning your wheels, dealing with the same hiring headaches over and over? Or are you ready to take control and build a team that actually supports your vision? If today's episode resonated with you, if you're ready to stop struggling with hiring and start creating a team you love, then I want to invite you to take this next step with me. I've put together something that walks you through every single step we've talked about today inside of the new NA Hire Accelerator. It's a 6-month program that gives you a step-by-step for hiring and training a team that sticks around. And the best part is that you don't have to do any of this alone, because I'll be there to guide you every step of the way. So again, just go ahead and take a look at the description of this episode in order to get the information on this. Or you can send me an email, hello@marinamars.com. Because again, 6 months from now, you could still be stuck in the same cycle of hiring and losing people, or you could have a fully trained, fully aligned team that's ready to help your business grow. The choice is yours. So that's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. But as always, if you need anything, just let me know.